Hello, welcome to Drinks with MJ. I am joined by Elizabeth, who is an amazing woman. She really, really is. She's so inspiring. And Elizabeth's son was diagnosed with dyspraxia, and we've been speaking a lot. Elizabeth does a lot of work in the US for Dyspraxia Foundation. She spreads a lot of awareness. She's a campaigner. She wrote a book. This lady really does do it all. I am thrilled to have you here. Hello.
Hello, cheers. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much for having drinks with MJ.
It's
Cheers.
just wonderful. Cheers. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. I'm thrilled to have you on all the way from Chicago. Love it.
I love it.
You don't mind me calling you Izzy, do you?
No, it's my nickname. Feel free. Absolutely.
Izzy, your life and your journey with dyspraxia and Bryant's journey it's been a blinking roller coaster, hasn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
the fight that you've had to go through and the tenacity and the resiliency that you've shown as a woman, as a person, truly is remarkable. And it's so motivating and inspiring. Tell me about the process. Tell me about the journey. How did you know there was something different about Bryant?
Yes. Well, so it was very interesting because we have a neurodivergent family. So my daughter has sensory processing disorder, but we didn't necessarily know it at the time. And so in my journey with Bryant, I've learned more about my daughter, more about myself as well. And so what basically happened is Bryant was what the doctor called a sponge. He said there were repeaters as far as speech and language, and then there were sponges that just absorb anything. At one point in time, they're just going to start talking. Bryant never really started talking. And so he was a quiet baby. He was a good baby because he was so quiet all the time. But what we didn't know is he couldn't articulate his speech. He couldn't move his structures in his mouth and his tongue around properly to be able to say sounds. And it wasn't until one night where we actually had to bring him to the hospital. He was crying, screaming in pain. The doctor thought he had a bowel obstruction. There could have been lots of things. He was checked for meningitis. He had a spinal tap. There was lots of things that were going on to try to figure out what was happening. He was 2 years old, so he should have been speaking a little bit at that point in time, but he wasn't. And after that hospitalization, which they figured out it was this weird strain of influenza and an earache, we went to a follow-up appointment with our doctor, which was 3 days later. And we had a different doctor this time, not our usual pediatrician that knows Bryant very well. And she said, it sounds like he's underwater. It sounds like, does he have hearing problems? And that's what started our early intervention, basically. We started down the process of hearing tests. He can hear fine. We started going through evaluation. In the States, we have early childhood intervention up until 3 years old. He was evaluated. He was behind in all his milestones, and especially in articulation of speech. So they focused on that. We had a speech therapist that was given to us that came to our house weekly and sometimes bi-weekly to help him articulate. But I started noticing flashcards. He would say the same sound fine over here, but when you switch to a different sound, he had trouble. So it all started with the speech. And then when he was 3, we had to go to a private speech therapist, pay out of pocket for that. And our speech pathologist, Deb Gadd, is really the person that kind of helped us navigate all the realms. At that point in time, Bryant was having trouble putting with executive function and skills. He had trouble doing first things first, second things. He had trouble with fine and gross motor skills. He started having some behavioral issues because he was being pushed out of his comfort zone. And so we started on the route of occupational therapy, vision therapy, food therapy, speech therapy. And so that's kind of where our journey began.
That is just, it sounds like a never-ending nightmare from the start. all this that you have to go through, speech therapists, psychologists, pediatricians. I mean, what a journey, what a fight. Where do you think you get your fight? Where do you get your motivation from to not take no for an answer? Because you were told no a lot of times, wasn't you?
We were told no a lot. And one of the things that keeps me moving, it's my son, and it's just, I want the best for him. And we're in a lucky situation where we can pay for certain things to get those therapies that he needs. But one thing that I figured out in the long run is that you really need to be the best advocate that you can be for yourself and for your child to really push things forward. One of the things, because dyspraxia isn't widely known in the United States. Technically, 1 out of 10. So if you're looking at a classroom of 20 kids in the United States, particularly, there's 2 kids in that classroom that have dyspraxia, but it's not widely known. So just to get the word out and to make it something to talk about, that everybody's talking about, and make it easy. And I don't like using the word normal, but making it so that everybody is accepting of it.
Yeah.
And can support one another, because the more you know, the more you understand it. And there's reasons why, Bryant may repeat himself or ask questions. He has slower processing. And for teachers, especially, to understand that, it's hugely important.
Yeah. Yeah. How's the process been now? So he got diagnosed when he was
5.
And how old is he now?
He's gonna be 11 this month.
Oh my goodness.
It's been great. So as he's grown, so when he has a growth spurt, we know it. Speech gets a little bit garbled sometimes. He has a little problems with anxiety, a little bit more than usual. We might miss a few steps on a stair. Our handwriting is still an issue. We still hold pencils in a different way with a whole hand grip. So we're trying to do typing and talking to text rather than just writing, because he cramps and gets tired. But on a day-to-day basis, dyspraxia is truly a hidden disability.
Yes.
You know that he's any different from any other kid. But they're so today, other than when we have growth spurts, you wouldn't know. And dyspraxia isn't really affecting him because he's got his coping strategies that he uses on a daily basis.
Yeah, and the same for me. I got diagnosed when I was 5 years old, but before that, my mum put me on the crawling mat. I couldn't crawl. I was dropping things in the school. The simple tasks that the teacher would set, I would struggle with. Like you said, picking up a pencil, I couldn't grasp it. And I was thinking, why? For many, many years, I was thinking, why me? Why have I got this condition? Why am I different? But I think embracing who you are and being proud of it and making people aware, whether that's in a job role or a classroom or in college or everyday life, if you're straight with people and you're just like, this is how it is, life becomes so much easier. Is that why you wanted just a diagnosis and thought, I want to make life easier, this is what it is, and once we've got a diagnosis we can work from that?
Absolutely. Once we know what it is, let's work with it, let's move with it. And it's a part of our life.
Yeah.
It's nothing negative. We look at it as a positive, but now it's a reason. One of the things that we've recently done is Bryant has slower processing. So when we're watching a movie, he's that person that asks the question, so wait a minute, what just happened? Or what did they say? So we started putting on subtitles. Yeah. So when we watch a movie as a family, we put on subtitles and he can process it faster. So again, we've just been able to modify the way we live.
Yeah.
And we work with it, and it works fine, and we can embrace it and just be like, you know what? There are other individuals in the world that have a lot more going on medically.
Absolutely.
They're so lucky to understand, know, and be able to support it.
How was your daily routine then? Because I know with a lot of neurodiverse people, myself, absolutely, I wear that crown all day long. I don't like a lot of change, but the older I'm getting, I'm becoming more susceptible to change. And I'm okay with change, I think, now. A lot's changed for me in these past 5 years. I'm barely keeping up. I really am, but hey ho. But so your daily routine with a child who is, a bit struggled with change, what's your daily routine like, and what are your challenges?
So it has evolved. Back in the day when he was newly diagnosed, it was, therapies during the day, even timing lunch and mealtime, and even coordinating what meals he was eating at certain times, making sure we had crunchy vegetables so that he could move around in his mouth. So right now, I have to say, we've gotten to the point where he actually can control a lot of his own day. So it's up at 5:45 in the morning. It's getting the kids to school. It's constant reminders. Do you have your coat? What is the weather out? That's one thing. What's one huge thing for Bryant? He gets programmed in his routine too to wear a certain type of clothing. We live in New England. So it went from summer to now it's 40 degrees outside. And so now he's still wearing shorts when he comes downstairs in the morning. And so it's like, nope, let's think about the weather. Let's put on the clothes. Let's get outside. And just constant reminders, keeping with the schedule, just like you're saying, we eat at certain times to help support. And we still have a bedtime routine. We still have reading that we have to do every day. And he has his own chores that he does every morning, and he does them on clockwork as long as we're on routine. If we're off routine, if it's a weekend, if it's a holiday, he has difficulty remembering what he needs to be doing. But it actually has gotten a lot easier over the years, and it's partly because he's taking accountability for himself, which is absolutely huge.
Yeah, it's such a big step. It's such a milestone in your life. And now moving forward, that Bryant will be so accepting of himself, and he knows if he meets anyone from any walks of life that it's acceptance and everything really is okay, no matter who you are, where you're from, race, ethnicity, disability, whatever. I think we're so lucky now that we live in a world and we live in a society where we're so open with mental health. I was doing a talk of last year, and I met a lady who was 70, and she told me she really struggled in jobs. She got stigmatized. She just had a lot of discrimination. She really suffered with that over the years. And I said to her, I went, when did you actually get your diagnosis? And she was like, when I was in my 60s. So she said, I went all my life feeling useless, feeling misunderstood, feeling confused. And I said, how do you think now? Have you got comfort now? Do you have any regrets? Do you have how do you feel? And she went, now I know, I understand. And I tell people now. And I think to get a diagnosis so later on in life, it must be so hard. But fortunately, I was diagnosed when I was 4, and Bryant was only, 5. So it is very lucky now that we live in a world of acceptance.
It is huge. It's absolutely wonderful. I mean, there were times when kids didn't understand Bryant because they couldn't understand his speech. And he was that kid on the buddy bench. We have buddy benches at our schools where if you don't have anybody to play with, he was that kid on that bench. But now he actually ran for student council last week.
Wow, amazing.
And he won. And so he stood in front of the and gave a speech. And just, it warms my heart to know that he has that type of confidence, to know that he couldn't speak when he was born, and now he's speaking in front of others. It's truly inspiring.
It's incredible. It really is incredible that you can do everything in life. Nothing is possible, and I love that. Izzy, what would you say to parents out there who are perhaps not in a financial situation to be able to go out and get a diagnosis, or that they haven't got the circles, or they don't know the right people, or education wise? What would you say to parents out there who don't know how to move forward with their diagnosis?
Right. So the one thing that I would do is search on the internet, find inspirational people like yourself who talk about dyspraxia openly that you can learn from, and there are different organizations out there that actually can support pro bono, can support individuals in therapies and neuropsych. In the United States, we're behind in leaps and bounds where you are. And we need a neuropsych eval to get diagnosed in the United States. And it is like $3,000 out of pocket, most cases. So it is terribly hard to get a diagnosis, but just do a search, Google things, check out, read blog posts, watch everything that you can to get all the information.
Videos.
Yes, that's one of the reasons why I started my website and my blog. My speech pathologist and occupational therapist said, you are on a journey that so many other people can learn from. And so that's kind of where I started. And it's been great. And I've had phone calls with parents and talked to families about our experiences. And it's amazing how many people are going through the same thing.
So many people are going through the same thing as well. And one thing I want to talk about as well is the depression and anxiety. I know for me, that has been a huge part of my life. I've had depression, I've had anxiety from a very, very early age. Do you think having dyspraxia and, neurodiversity, do you think depression, anxiety, all these symptoms and feelings and, you know, illnesses, do you think they come along with that, or do you think that's just a different part of the brain, the spectrum?
Absolutely. No, I believe they're hand in hand. And some of my research that I've particularly done, because we're sensory kids, both my kids STEM, so they both flap to regulate their sensory systems. And so some of the research that I've done based on that basically says if you are an understimulated individual sensory wise, it can predispose you for depression later on in life.
Yeah.
Just you are an overly responsive person.
Yeah.
It can predispose you for anxiety. My son Bryant has a lot of anxiety. He gets really nervous, very uncomfortable if we get off routine and off schedule, kind of like what we've talked about. And that aspect of it, it does scare me down the road, you know, and you want to do everything in your power to help support and prevent, but also to create those coping strategies. So I do agree with you. Neurodiversity, it goes hand in hand, and it's all a part. Everything truly overlaps in our neurodiverse universe. And so I totally agree with you that it's predisposed and it's all coordinated.
Yeah, and how has this affected your life then, Lizzie? Because before you became a mum, and before, you know, your life started and you met your husband, and, you know, how has your life changed? Of course, from having children, but has it brought people into your life? Has it changed your career? Has it changed your life pattern? How has, you know, going forward with dyspraxia and being a founder and an advocate, how has that changed your world?
It's been amazing. I'm a retired nurse, so I started off in the medical field many moons ago, and it's the whole entire process. Writing my daughter's book about her flapping and trying to gain acceptance there, and writing Bryant's book about dyspraxia. I've learned so much about myself, and that I'm a neurodivergent individual as well. I'm a sensory human being. I don't like overhead lights. There are certain things about me that I need to do to regulate, and it's because of that I've had these aha moments where I've learned more about myself, but that allows me to be able to support my children better, I think, too. So that's a gift that's given me. But it has opened my world to so many people and conversations and other parents that are going through the same thing. And now I'm learning through adults like yourself who have experienced dyspraxia from the adult. So I can take notes from you and learn from your experience and help guide. So it's been absolutely wonderful. When I worked with different foundations, I never physically met everybody during COVID and everything because we were all on the computer, much like this. But I was talking to an adult individual with dyspraxia from California, working with somebody, you know, from Maryland. So it's been an amazing, empowering experience just to work with so many people. And just these books have opened up my world and opened up the conversation, which I'm very grateful for.
And I have a book here. Woo!
Yay!
Love this book. It is available on Amazon and online too. My Buddy Bryant, A Story of Friendship and Dyspraxia. A great read with lots of pictures inside. It is a really great book. Loads of pictures, a lot going on there. It's a fabulous book that is available on Amazon and online. Where was the motivation come to write a book? Like, wow. Tell me all about it, please.
So I've always written poems all through my life. If I had trouble expressing myself or just didn't know what was going on, I would write a poem. I've written poems about everything. And then for Lily, it started off with Lily's book, and she entered kindergarten and she had a project called Special Me. Each student was assigned a week throughout the year that was given and dedicated just to them. And they could bring in posters, loveys, pets, food. And a lot of people were bringing in family members who made that individual student special. And after Lily came home several weeks in a row of listening to all these different projects, she was the last to go. She said, "Mom, I want to do exactly what everybody else did." And I said, "That's great. It's an ultimate compliment." But I happen to believe it's what makes people different from everybody else that makes them special.
Yeah.
And unique. It's what makes them different that makes them
Cheers
special.
to that.
Yay! Cheers!
I love that. That is a great interview.
So yeah. So and then I was inspired to write a poem, and that's what was her Special Me project. And I've continued to do it with my buddy Bryant. So it's been wonderful.
It's incredible. And I know you do a lot of signings as well. You go out in the community and go to schools as well. How has all that been?
It's been great. I love it's finally getting back into the schools now, which is incredible to see all the faces and experience everything. I read my book, I tell how I became an author, and of course, we tell the morals of, acceptance of others so that you can don't miss out on a friend, and what makes you different makes you special, and that you should embrace yourself. So I go out and I do it all for free so that the charities that my book profits go to receive all the funds and everything. And it's just been wonderful. There was this one moment where a nonverbal child actually stood up and flapped his arms during one of my talks. And I didn't know he was nonverbal at the time. And I saw all the teachers in the room start crying. And I looked up and the principal came up to me afterwards and said, "Do you know this student?" And I said, "No, why?" And they said, "Because you understood what he was saying, because he stood up and started flapping." I said, "You flap too? That's awesome." And it was just a very powerful experience. And if I can touch one person in that room, I've done my job for the day.
Incredible. So incredible. What you're doing is amazing. The motivation, inspiring people. You inspire me. So thank you so much for that. What is next for you, Izzy? Because you can do it all. What is next?
I don't know. I'm keeping my options open right now. Hopefully working for another foundation to bring dyspraxia awareness. Still promoting my books, still promoting the message of dyspraxia awareness and accepting of others and accepting differences. So right now, that's it for me right now. But going forward, hopefully blogging more, guiding parents, guiding families. The world is our oyster, right, MJ?
It really is, yes. That's my ethos in the morning. I'm like, right, come on, I can do this. Adversity, I got you. Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely. Power in that. And there's power in authenticity as well. So, and we are us, and that
Yes.
is powerful beyond the universe. Izzy, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for having drinks with MJ. Thank you. How have you found the show?
Yeah.
You enjoyed it? You enjoyed
Thank
the
you.
show? Yay! So exciting. And so your book is available. Where are your books available in your social media and your blogging, please?
Yep. So on flappinggoodtail.com is my website. And so you can go order books online there. Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, Books a Million, and they're all available there as well.
Oh, incredible. Thank you so much. Let's continue to share awareness, put out the message of authenticity is key. Be ourselves. Don't be afraid. Change is change. Diversity is what it's all about. Thank you so much, Izzy. This has been incredible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all the inspirational things you do as well. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're so welcome. Thank you so much, Izzy. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.